Our next segment on the show is our Let's Talk About It segment. And this week, we're going to talk about Reggie Bush. Right. We're going to talk about Reggie Bush because it kind of ties into our whole thing that we're talking with Lindsay about this week in the NIL bill. So basically, if you guys don't know Reggie Bush, who's now on TV and stuff like that, like he's still a relevant person especially in college football. So he won the Heisman back in 2005, and there's a lot of not speculation, but a lot of conversations, a lot of debates going on right now about Reggie Bush since the NIL bill was passed and the NCAA is loosening their policies on it. Here's the question, should Reggie Bush get his Heisman back? This is the question that everybody is asking about. And before I get into it all, I'm just going to read the statement that Reggie Bush himself posted on his Twitter. So this is what he said. Over the last few months, on multiple occasions, my team and I have reached out to both the NCAA and the Heisman Trust in regard to the reinstatement of my college records and the return of my Heisman. We left multiple messages for Michael Comerford, the president of the Heisman Trust, but instead received a call from Rob Whalen, the executive director, who stated that Mr. Comerford would not be calling us back and that in any event, they could not help us. We reached out to the NCAA on multiple occasions and received no help or got no response at all. It is my strong belief that I won the Heisman Trophy solely due to my hard work and dedication on the football field, and it is also my firm belief that my records should be reinstated. Now, me approaching this argument, I can see all of the sides. I am very much a devil's advocate. I understand both sides here. I understand that Reggie Bush did have a fantastic 2005 season. For just a couple of statistics, he rushed for 1,740 yards on 200 carries and 18 total touchdowns. However, he did receive what I read on a CNN article described as impermissible benefits, which basically was that he took money and he got a vehicle from an agent or something like that. Basically things that you're not allowed to get as a college athlete in 2005. Now, if that were to happen, it would be allowed. And it's just kind of people are like, hey, this wasn't allowed during this time. You know, why can't Reggie Bush get his Heisman back now that these policies have been loosened, or, you know, kind of the noose has been released, right? So I understand, like, honestly, in the midst of all this, my first instinct was like, yeah, like, why wouldn't Reggie Bush get his Heisman Trophy back? I mean, obviously the things that he was punished for at the time are basically legal now, and they should, you know, kind of give it back to him, because they didn't take it away from him because he didn't deserve it. They took it away from him because he broke the rules. However, what I also thought about was putting myself in the shoes of the NCAA, that they were like, hey, if we give Reggie Bush his Heisman Trophy back, all the people that we kind of, you know, gave consequences to for their behaviors, we're going to have to, like, basically reimburse all of these people that we ever did anything to because of the fact that we gave Reggie Bush his Heisman back. I honestly, genuinely don't think it's going to happen. I think people are going to make a push for it. I think it's going to be a big debate topic for a long time. I genuinely don't think it's going to happen solely because of that reason that I just said. At the Heisman Trophy Trust, though, I have a feeling that they know it's not going to happen. They know the NCAA isn't going to make it work, but they're coming out and they're saying, well, if the NCAA reinstates it, we will be happy to have Reggie Bush back in the 2005 spot. So they're basically saving their own butts. They're saving face themselves by saying that they're okay with it, that they want Reggie Bush to get his Heisman back, but it's not up to them. It's up to the NCAA to reinstate his records. So I really think the Heisman did that just to save their butts a little bit. And then, you know, this is basically what is going to go down with Reggie Bush. I genuinely think Reggie Bush, because of what so it's like almost like, okay, let's just take this out of context for a second, not in sports, just in like the real world. Let's just say one day, you know, thieving stealing becomes legal. Like, you can walk into a store, take something off the shelf, walk out without paying for it. So now, then you go back and you're like, well, all these other people who have been stealing this whole time, do they get released from jail? A perfect example, real example, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, is marijuana. Marijuana is now legal recreationally in a lot of different states, right? And a lot of people are calling for the people that have been arrested for marijuana use or for having marijuana or selling marijuana, they should be released from jail because it is legal now. It's the same kind of thing, and it's complicated. While for a lot of people it's clear, like, yes, it is legal now, therefore everybody before that should be released. It's the same kind of concept, but then also it's like there's so many other factors, and it's really unfortunate that there are so many other factors in this. It's really complicated. So, jumping back to Reggie Bush here, does he want his Heisman back? Yes. Is he going to get it back? No. Do I think that he probably should get his Heisman back because he really didn't do, in terms of what he earned it for, is there? Yeah, he did. He earned that Heisman. It was his. It was his for 5 years until 2010, and then they took it away from him. It is what it is. The NCAA is not going to give it back to him. That's just the bottom line. I would be so flabbergasted if they did. But they're not, because there's going to be so many other people that are like, oh, you gave Reggie Bush's Heisman back? Well, what about all the things that you took me out of because I did this, this, and this? Or what about the things that, my teammate did, and now you gave them consequences for it, and now they're not going to get any compensation for that? So it's just going to be a whole whirlwind of things, and the NCAA does not want to open that door. So overall, let's talk about it. We talked about it. Reggie Bush and the NIL bill. It's so out of control. So anyway, that's what my thoughts on all of this really is.